You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. For the 181st time, tonight we will keep Canada weird by seeking out and exploring all the offbeat news stories that played out across the past week. But before we do that, let me start with you, buddy. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing well. I am hanging in there, as they say in the industry. So I want to continue to hang in there, and that will be my plan going forward.
Good. And when you say industry, are you talking about like the entertainment industry?
No, the industry of life.
Okay, all right. In the industry of life, do they have special drinks that people open at the beginning of a new experience that helps them make the new experience even more special? Is that a thing?
Yes, it is a thing. Yeah, it's mandatory. You legally have to have a special drink. And I see what you got over there. Another one of those. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, I'm flashing my special drink on the camera here. I got, they're called candy cans. I don't know the brand. Maybe that is the brand name. They're pop, like soda, that's flavored usually like candy. I saw them for sale at Walmart, and I bought a pack of them. This is a cotton candy flavored candy can.
Yeah, that's the one I had before.
Delicious.
Oh,
it's a special drink.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for tonight now. Do you got a drink?
I have a drink. It's my staple, though. It's the 0 sugar, 0 caffeine, Coca-Cola in the small can that makes my hand look like Andre the Giant's hand.
Yeah.
Which I really, really enjoy. And I'm just rocking the staple tonight, which I'm fine with because it's delicious. So
having a small can that makes your hand look larger may be fitting tonight, because I don't know if you know about this. You don't stay up to date on the voicemails and emails coming into the show the way I do. But somehow over the past week, you have become a bit of a sex symbol, it seems. And it all comes back to banning listeners who send in voicemails that offend you. Last week you were banning someone, and you said something that I think may have struck a little bit of a nerve.
There's a certain style of individual that likes to listen to this show. And that individual has a banning fetish. And they like to be banned. People have said that they not only support it, but feel free to ban them as well.
That is true.
So Mike was his name?
Yeah.
Mike, you're banned.
Oh. Say it again for him.
Mike, you're so banned. Mike, I'm going to ban you so, Okay, let's move on.
I just got 2 voicemails I want to open the show with related to that statement you made. Here is Amy. She has a spin-off idea that maybe you and her could work on together.
Hi, this is Amy, your faithful listener from Oregon and the States. I just want to say that the way that handsome Aaron Airport banned Mike on the show tonight got my attention, and it made me realize Aaron has some real potential to possibly start a podcast in a whole different direction. So, if you want to talk further about that in like a one-on-one kind of meeting situation, definitely reach out. Or you could just ban me.
What is she pitching?
What is she pitching? Well, I have to use we all have to use our imagination a little bit here, which is interesting. I enjoy that. But Amy, presents an interesting opportunity. Perhaps we could call it Keep Canada Banned, and just, ban people over and over and over again.
I don't know. I think she had a bit of a motive there, because she makes it pretty clear that she was hoping to meet one-on-one and plan this.
And plan it, yeah.
To get a better sense of maybe what Amy was trying to make happen, let's listen to Blair. She also reacted in a very specific way to how you banned Mike last week.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Blair, and I'm from St. John, New Brunswick, and usually I wouldn't be the type to call in, but I wanted to jump in on the banning talk, and that's only because Aaron, out of the blue, I'm standing here barbecuing some meatless burgers, Aaron starts talking about banning and suddenly says that he was going to ban somebody so hard. And I found myself wanting to be banned as well. I I don't even like boys. But Aaron, sir, could you ban me? Thank you.
Okay. This is touching on a subject that I brought up in terms of our listeners having a banning fetish, and I think it's proven correct now officially. And I'd like to say to Amy first. Amy, you're banned.
Mhm. And for Blair?
And Blair, I would also really, really like to ban you.
In any specific way?
In a very literal sense, Blair, you can't come near the show anymore. You're banned. Amy, legally banned. So, yeah, I mean, I can ban all night. That's the thing about me is I like to look into somebody's eyes when I'm banning them so that they know that I am the banner. And when I'm banning you, you'll know it.
Okay, I like it. Something we talked about in a prior episode, we have to revisit before we get into the stories tonight. Yeah, one of the stories we talked about, I think this was in episode 179. We heard the story of the rash of downspout thefts. You remember this? Someone was going around stealing downspouts off of homes in Western Canada. I got a story that just came across the desk this morning. It was sent from a listener named Jen. I want to open the show with this. It's just a short news clip about a crime that happened in Ontario that seems to maybe be inspired by what the thief stealing the downspouts did. Maybe you can get the newsboy to read this one off. We'll just call it the bleacher thief.
Okay, yeah, sure. Extra, extra, read all about it. Police in Orangeville are dealing with a very unusual kind of theft. Someone swiped the actual bleacher benches from a local park. The crime was reported on September 2nd, and by the very next day, the benches turned up at a scrapyard. Police have now charged a 53-year-old Brantford man who also happens to be a local business owner, with possession and trafficking of stolen property under $5,000. So to recap, a mystery thief allegedly dismantled park benches, hauled them away, and tried to cash them in as scrap metal. The man is set to appear in court on October 21st, and police are still looking for tips on how this bizarre caper unfolded.
I think I can give the police some tips. Clearly, this guy has access to a truck, drove up to a park where there was some benches made out of like aluminum or some kind of metal. He disassembled them and drove them disassembled to a scrapyard and sold them as scrap, much like the guy stealing the downspouts probably did.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think this is a stupid theft where you're not going to get much money for it, but it makes more sense to do this than to steal downspouts from people's homes, because at least like bleachers, and for people who I think everyone knows what bleachers are, like at a outdoor sports field, it's the seating where it's just tiered seating. This guy probably he would have had to go in like probably at night some field that nobody's at and just with a electric drill or something took this thing apart and threw it in his truck, as opposed to have what the downspout thief had to do is walk up to homes on video and pull stuff off of actual homes. Both ridiculous thefts. This one, I think, is he got a better chance of getting away with it. Although it didn't work out, he got arrested the next day.
Yeah, we know what happened. We know what he was trying to do with it. Obviously trying to sell it for scrap. It says that he was a local business owner as well. So what business was he in?
This is coming from a police press release. It didn't say what business he was in. It just specifically said he was a local business owner. When I read it, I was thinking, could it be the guy who owns the scrapyard? Because he would have access to like the easiest way to deal with this metal and sell it and get rid of it. And I can't imagine any other business would be relevant to mention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they do take the time to say a local business owner. Yeah, it's a great point to make that he could be the owner of the scrapyard. He's going to put the bleachers there. I was about to say a great place to hide it, but obviously it wasn't because he got caught.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's possible that he owns a scrapyard.
Hmm. If not, I don't know why they would mention that. I'm surprised they investigate it. When like a set of bleachers go missing, I'm surprised it would even be noticed. You would think a city wouldn't, especially a smaller city like Bradford, wouldn't be like organized enough to realize that the bleachers are missing. Like I would think if you work as, I don't know, you're the groundskeeper or something for this baseball field, let's say, and the bleachers are missing, you would just think, we must be getting new bleachers put in or something. Like you wouldn't think like, oh, I'm going to get the cops on this.
Well, the people who look after that park would notice right away because every park has, maintenance people that, I mean, they're there mowing the lawns, they're there collecting the garbage, they maintain the park, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Either way, I wanted to open the show with that story just because it ties into something we've talked about, but that's not the only dumb Canadian crime we have to discuss tonight. Again, this happens quite often where we get a collection of weird stories from the past week and they fall on a theme. Tonight's theme, throughout a lot of the show, is going to be ridiculous, a little disturbing, and completely unexpected Canadian crimes. We can just call them weird Canadian crimes. Let's take our first break. When we get back, we have a duo of dumb Canadian crimes. One will be about the world's worst neighbor. The other one is going to be the most dangerous street to stop on, maybe in all of Canada. We'll get to those after this short break. Handsome Aaron Airport, have you ever had a bad neighbor, like an awful, deranged, unhinged neighbor?
I've had some bad neighbors in my day. Not right now, but certainly in the past I have.
Knock on wood for you.
Oh, thank you.
I've had my fair share of bad neighbors, and maybe in some situations I am the bad neighbor because I do a lot of odd stuff. I'm into woodworking, so I'm often like sanding or staining or spraying something that stinks on stuff in my yard. So maybe to some people I would be a bad neighbor. But I've also, like I said, had some awful neighbors, but I've never experienced anything like this next story. I'm going to call this the worst downstairs neighbor in Canada, and also the weirdest break-in in Canadian history. Let me set it up this way. A Calgary woman returned to her home after a short vacation and found a scene straight out of a thriller. Her downstairs neighbor had quite literally carved a tunnel into her apartment through the wall next to her fireplace. As I said, this is the creepiest and worst neighbor in all of Canada.
It's a disturbing crime, to say the least.
On September 5th, a woman returned home after being away for a while to find damage and destruction in her apartment.
They had a difficult time getting inside their house because it had been locked from the inside. They were able to make entry inside the premise and then noticed a hole in the wall by the fireplace. Subsequent further investigation by themselves, they noticed another hole leading to the basement suite. And then subject to a police search warrant on the basement suite residence, we found a ladder and another hole leading from that residence up.
The man alleged to be behind the tunnel, 46-year-old Ben Edward Mays. He's been charged with one count of break and enter with intent to commit criminal harassment, mischief to property over $5,000, and 2 counts of disobeying a court order. Police say the victim and the accused didn't have a relationship.
Some of the other neighbors had had some just unusual dealings with the individual, just that had sparked their concern more around some potential mental health issues.
Mays is in custody and will be in court on Friday. Meanwhile, neighbors are grappling with the reality of what happened.
It's like alarming and shocking, I would say, for sure. Like, it's weird.
Peters was notified by her condo management about a police presence with a message saying in part, quote, "There's no cause for alarm."
So when you figured out what happened, why weren't we notified of something?
Key Condo tells CTV it's working with police and the affected residents.
Oh, man. I don't know if I could ever go back in my house. For people who haven't seen the clips, do you want to kind of describe what this man did?
Yeah, well, his apartment is below hers, right? And so he tunneled up basically like through where her fireplace is.
And not through the floor, like through the wall. Like he would have had to go into his wall and up, and then out of her wall.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what his long term plan, if he thought that he's going to be able to set up some type of a scenario where I'll, she's gone for a few weeks. So that gives me enough time to build a tunnel into her apartment where I'll be able to sneak in when she's sleeping and do whatever it is that he planned on doing.
Nothing was stolen. Like there was no theft involved, although it was a break-in. Another odd twist in it is so he does this, he digs into his wall using a ladder, he gets up in into her unit, busts through her wall. He then goes and locks her door. So when she comes back and he locked her from the inside. So when she comes back from vacation, she goes to open her door and it won't lock. So it was something like some internal lock. Like maybe I'm imagining in an apartment, you have that little chain with the ball on it and it like kind of locks your door from the inside.
Yeah, because I was trying to think about how he would have done that. Because I'm like, well, the lock on the door, obviously, she would have locked the door when she left for
Yeah,
her
like the
trip.
deadbolt or whatever. I'm thinking it's something similar to like at a hotel, that little chain thing that you put across the door.
It's got to
It
be
was some
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that that prevented her from being able to get in. That was the first clue something was wrong. Then when she gets in and finds a hole in the wall, I have a feeling she knew right away who was behind this. It seems like there's been some interaction with this man. It said in the news clip they didn't have a relationship, but it seems like there is like complaints that people around the building have against this guy. He was facing charges even before this related to like criminal harassment. So this is it's turning out to be a strange situation. And in my setup, I said she got back from vacation. Actually, I don't know if it was a vacation. I read several articles about this. It just said she was away for an extended period of time. I wonder if she was just staying somewhere else because her downstairs neighbor is completely nuts.
Yeah, that was the impression I got from the article that I read, was that she was letting the dust settle on this situation. So she was away for a while just to kind of create some distance between her and him.
Yeah, which was probably a good thing. The guy who will tunnel into your house is a dangerous and super creepy dude. He did have a hearing related to this. Let me read you a little article because there's an update to this story already. The case of the Calgary man accused of tunneling into his upstairs neighbor's apartment has taken yet another unusual turn. Ben Mays, 46, appeared in court via video link and confirmed he plans to represent himself at his trial, which is scheduled for January 19th. The judge reminded him he can still choose to retain a lawyer at any point, a suggestion Mays firmly rejected, declaring, "There's no way, there's no chance in hell I'm getting a lawyer. I'll be self-representing all the way." Crown prosecutor Brian Hadford successfully requested that a court-appointed lawyer handle the cross-examination of Mays' neighbor, the complainant in this case, to ensure her testimony is given freely and without intimidation. Mays remains in custody and has not sought bail pending trial. So, when you get someone who does a crime this strange, of course they're going to represent themselves. And I kind of wish in some cases there's some things about the United States that I'm envious of. And one is the media's access to trials. We don't have that in Canada where we have like the news live streaming a trial, like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. Why not for a case like this?
Well, I mean, how much privacy does this woman want? I mean,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Like if I were her, I'd be like, I don't want anybody knowing who I am, that it's me, that
Yeah.
this is what I'm going through, because it's a very sensitive subject, right?
That's a good point. She's just like it seems like a pure victim of just some maniac. And that's what like why bad neighbor stories scare me so much. If you have this unhinged person living right next to you, sleeping right next to you, being, just below you while you're sleeping, and they have this delusional thought and they're willing to do something as crazy as tunneling through the wall up into your unit, that just rocks your ability to just live in peace. That's why I hate bad neighbor stories. They say fences make good neighbors, but if they live underneath you, you can't put a fence there.
No, but if you can tunnel under a fence though too, so
Yeah, that's true.
you can
Oh,
have the best fence in the world, and one garden shovel will get you underneath that.
this isn't the only bizarre, strange, unusual Canadian crime to discuss tonight. Let's go over to the Toronto area to hear of maybe it's a vigilante parking enforcement crime spree that's happening. For months, a stretch of Yonge Street in the North York area of Toronto, has been the stage for a strange and unsettling series of attacks. Someone is driving by parked cars and firing metal ball bearings, leaving shattered windows and shaken nerves, but no motives in its wake. Here's the story of the pellet gun attacks on the idle drivers in Toronto.
It's a busy section of Yonge Street just north of Shepherd Avenue, crowded on sidewalks and on the road as residents and those who work in the area go about their business. But pulling up in a vehicle to this particular stretch of Yonge Street carries a risk. You could be shot at.
We've had a dozen incidents since February of 2025.
12 times in 7 months. The circumstances are almost always the same.
People are parking their vehicle on Yonge Street facing northbound, and as soon as they get out of their car or if they're sitting in their car, someone is driving up beside them and firing a round, a large pellet gun or a BB gun, a large round through their window into their car.
Police say the projectile is similar to a ball bearing.
About a centimeter in diameter, and they are moving at a speed that is penetrating the windows and narrowly missing people that are inside their cars.
So it narrowly missed you.
Yeah, everyone is say you're lucky.
This part of Yonge Street is a no-stopping zone. Resident Jennifer Hoffman wonders if that's motivating someone.
Well, I guess they're expressing their dislike of this lane being blocked.
The MO right now is unknown, but it is clear that it's very specific, it's very targeted towards a certain area.
Stopping to wait for someone in this small stretch could get you shot. The most recent incident happened over the weekend. One of the objects struck a window at this restaurant.
I hope the guy or woman who does it is apprehended.
With these projectiles flying through their windows, it's just a matter of time before somebody gets seriously injured.
In half of the cases, police say someone was inside the vehicle when a shot was fired. They're not sure whether they're looking for a single perpetrator or several. For the moment, this no-stopping zone remains a dangerous place to pause for a pickup.
So it has to be a vigilante parking enforcement person. Someone is so upset that cars are stopping and idling in this lane that you're not supposed to stop in, that they're literally just driving around there with, I guess, like some kind of a pellet gun and just blasting windows out. That's absolutely crazy.
It's an extreme way to react to people breaking a minor traffic law. So I'm not convinced that that's the motive. I feel like maybe it's a 10% of it. Maybe they're like, yeah, they're not supposed to stop there anyway, but I'm going to shoot somebody with this pellet gun, so I might as well shoot them.
It could be, but it's so targeted. If you have 12 cases in the last like 7 months on this one particular strip,
yeah,
with like the same kind of ball bearing pellet thing, you know, it has to be related to that. It's either someone who is furious that people are stopping there. Maybe they're a business owner and their business is affected by it. It's either that, or it's maybe someone who got a ticket for stopping there and they're mad that, you know, all these other people are stopping there and not getting a ticket. Like, I think it's one or the other. And I feel like it'd be an easy case to solve because whoever is that upset by people stopping there, they probably did something else before they're like, I'm going to blast the windows out. Like, I wonder if there's one person who's been calling and complaining to the city saying, you know, they're always parking there in front of my shop and the deliveries can't come and you're not doing anything about it.
In front of my pellet gun shop.
Well, it's something like that. But I think it's this story, what I like about it, it's very weird and unexpected. But the fact that it keeps happening 12 times in the last 7 months, there is someone who goes to bed every single night and they're just laying there and they're like, if one more person parks in that street, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, it's still like such an extreme, dangerous thing to do because people who normally care are very passionate about obeying traffic laws
Mhm.
are not the type of people that are going to resort to violence to solve it.
Mhm.
They write letters to politicians or municipal employees or whoever,
Yeah, they call the
and
bylaw
they
enforcement.
call the bylaw people. They post on social media.
But
Maybe
they
they'll
don't have
take
any
some
followers.
photos.
Yeah, they don't have any followers though. They
Yeah,
just post
yeah.
it anyway.
So that's normally the type of behavior that you would see from someone who cares this much about an issue like this. The person that you would normally attribute to shooting a pellet gun out of a moving vehicle would be like a teenager.
Hmm. But a teenager doesn't care about
So
this.
maybe, well, that's what the dots that I'm trying to connect here. So maybe it's
Okay.
this. So there is somebody who cares. There is a man who parked there one time, got a ticket, and went home to his family and was really, really upset about it. It's like, how did I get a ticket? People park there all the time and never get tickets. And I'm the one that get a ticket, and I parked there for 10 seconds or whatever. And it's very slighted by it, offended by it, the whole thing, and feels very defeated. And then they start to deteriorate mentally and emotionally over it. They had a perfect, driving record before that, never got parking tickets, never got speeding tickets. And this thing is just weighing on them, and it start to come across in how they behave around their family. They're starting to have a poor performance at work, and maybe they're showing up late because they're losing sleep, and they have a hard time focusing, and their whole life is now upended about this. And the son of this individual is seeing their father crumble completely and wants to seek revenge. So their son, being a teenager, using the tools that a teenager has at their disposal, and gets the pellet gun, is reckless enough to do this, and starts shooting cars that park in a no stop zone.
Lashing out at the injustice in the city of Toronto. You could be right. And I want to use your story as a great segue to another piece of voicemail we have, because your story, your theory all relates to a teenager using tools to, I don't know, get back at society. I got a voicemail from an anonymous listener who has some experience working with teenagers. So they get right in there with the puberty problem. And they had a theory about a story we talked about last week in episode 180. You remember the Rib Fest and the 3D printed coins that we thought maybe a teenager was behind. Listen to what this anonymous listener thinks is behind the 3D printed coins at that Rib Fest.
Calling in from Cape Breton today. I've got a theory on the Rib Fest robbery, or the Rib Fest ticket fiasco, however you want to call it. I believe it was linked to the puberty problem. I work in schools, and a lot of teachers have 3D printers. Some schools have 3D printers. Students and teenagers are very familiar with 3D printing or 3D printed objects. So, my theory is that perhaps a teenager that has access to one of these 3D printers took advantage of perhaps finding an old ticket, got a brilliant idea, told other friends, printed as many of these little tickets off as possible, and either snuck into Beer Fest, or they're 19 and broke and just decided that this was the best crime of opportunity for them. I heard you say you thought that maybe beer tickets were $4, and you are grossly mistaken. But they're like, you're spending at least $8 to $10 for drinks. It is not cheap anymore. So anyway, that is my theory, and I think it makes sense.
I have no doubt in my mind that a teenager has something to do with 3D printing those coins to rip off the Rib Fest.
Yeah. That theory checks out to me. In fact, I think it's perfect. So they're anonymous, though. I really still wanted to ban her. But that's kind of a loophole around being banned, is if you come in as anonymous. I need a name in order to ban you.
But let's get to our second and final break of the night. And when we get back, we have a great story related to ice cream. I promise you'll laugh at it after this short break. Handsome Aaron Airport. It's been a minute since we talked about ice cream. It's been a minute since we talked about politics. We're going to get both in this next story. Ontario Premier Rob Ford recently held a press conference in which he shared details of a large manufacturing development related to Canada's largest independent ice cream producer, Chapman's Ice Cream. Before giving details of the new facility to a crowd of media, he took a moment to simply enjoy their products. I want to play a little bit of Premier Rob Ford's press conference. Listen in on this. You know what's good when it's Rob Ford. The Ford brothers, they don't make for boring news. Here it comes.
This guy's in shape like a racehorse, and look at me. But folks, if you haven't tried a Yukon, these are absolutely delicious. You have to go to the store and buy one. And these are the best ice cream sandwiches anywhere. But you have to try both of them. Try all their products. But I'm going to try it right now. This is absolutely delicious. My goodness. But you can start asking me questions whenever. Caramel in the middle, ice cream, chocolate, and peanuts. The best. Beautiful.
All right, well now...
And if the media's nice to me, I will give them one of these.
Yeah, I don't know about his politics, but as like a person who's on the news, when it's Rob Ford, I find it's always interesting. And for anyone who doesn't know, his brother Doug Ford was the mayor of Toronto. A lot of people called him, including myself, called him Mayor Farley because he was like the living embodiment of a Chris Farley character or something. And there's now a special on Netflix. They have a series called Trainwreck on Netflix, and there's an episode about the man we just heard, Rob Ford's, who's the Premier of Ontario. There's an episode about his brother, Doug Ford. That's very good.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
No, I didn't know that this existed until now, so I am going to watch that.
Oh my God. It's the show Trainwreck. It's like they follow, every episode follows like a story that ends in a train wreck, like some incident that's just so insane. But it focused on Doug Ford when he was the mayor of Toronto and the allegations that someone had a video or alleged to have been in possession of a video showing him smoking crack. And this was when he was the mayor. He denied the video existed, but then finally the video surfaces, and sure enough, it was him smoking crack. And that's only the beginning of the train wreck that comes from Doug Ford. But you should watch it just because, keep Canada weird. Oh man, Doug Ford did more than his share.
Yeah, it reminds me, is if like almost like a Disney movie from the 90s, like not a cartoon Disney movie, but one of those like live action random Disney movies about some kid who's gets into the major leagues or whatever. Or so imagine a 12-year-old boy becomes the Premier of Ontario. And it's like, I'm going to go and give a news conference at an ice cream place. And I'm going to eat all the ice cream. And then he's just going to stand in front of the news media eating ice cream and then probably taking a nap.
It was a sincere performance he did when he popped open the Yukon, which is a type of an ice cream bar thing. He looked like he was genuinely enjoying it. When you see those photo ops with a food product, people often take a little bite or take a sip or something. No, he like filled his mouth with it. And there's much more to it. He went on for a while. He's like, I eat one of these every night. I love them.
Every night. Yeah. You should maybe not every night have one. Maybe once a week have a nice Chapman's ice cream Yukon bar or whatever it's called.
If the premier of Ontario, that's a tough job. I'd say, I'd say if you got to just get through it day by day, and if how you do that is a Chapman's ice cream at the end of every night, there's way worse things you could do.
But he's saying he has one every night, but one always means 5.
Yeah.
Always. Chapman's ice cream is like Lay's potato chips. You can't have just one. So he's eating probably a solid box of these. He probably has 1 for breakfast, 2 for lunch. He has 3 at supper, and then, an ice cream cap before he goes to bed to cry himself to sleep.
Good way to live for a little bit, but that would catch up to you.
Hey, how old is he actually?
I'd say he's 60.
He's getting close to being a senior, so we should have him on the show eating ice cream.
Yeah, we'll have to do the math on his age, but if he is a senior and qualifies, yeah, I definitely have him on. But we got to move on to our next and our final story. This is a short and sweet one. Why don't you read this one, Aaron? Tell us about the drunk man in Newfoundland.
A man in Happy Valley Goose Bay managed to hit a very weird double this week. First being too drunk to fly, and then being too drunk to drive. Airport officials stopped the 25-year-old from boarding his flight because of his level of intoxication. But instead of sobering up, he hopped in his pickup and left the airport. RCMP were quickly tipped off, tracked him down, and pulled him over. When tested, his blood alcohol level came back at more than 2.5 times the legal limit. His license was immediately suspended, and he's now facing impaired driving charges with a court date set for November 20th.
If you've ever watched those shows like the airport security or border patrol type shows, it's often a thing where people are not allowed on planes because of intoxication. In fact, you don't even need to watch those shows. If you have a TikTok account, you've probably come across videos of drunk people being pulled off of planes and they're screaming at everybody. I almost put it on the airports a little bit. If you're going to be serving alcohol at an airport where people are obviously going on planes, I feel like you need to be so strict with how much alcohol you're serving them. It's one thing if they show up at the airport drunk, but a lot of people I think sit at the little bars at the airport and get themselves smashed. I feel like they need to be, so diligent with any signs of intoxication. Be like, no, you're not going, however many 1,000 feet in the air acting like this. No more drinks for you.
In the defense of the drunk people here, just to play devil's advocate, you are surrounded by alcohol at the airport and on the plane.
It's true.
So it's almost like, they're serving you alcohol and then you're getting in trouble for drinking too much of it. And a lot of people need to take the edge off when they're flying because they have a fear of flying. And a few drinks helps them relax, helps them manage the situation. So, but it really does. I mean, you can't get overly intoxicated. I wasn't there. I didn't see how possibly belligerent or falling down this person might have been. So I can't really cast final judgment on it. Mm-hmm. But it is a weird thing to, have them pouring alcohol down your gullet and then and then they kick you off the flight for being too drunk.
Well, a few things. For one, this guy, he was smashed. He was 2.5 times the legal limit. So he had drank a lot. But you do make a good point. When you walk in the airport, generally there's I think it's called the duty free shop. So it's like a liquor store where you can buy liquor without paying duty or something. Every little restaurant and bar, they're taking advantage, I think, or maybe not taking advantage, but they're capitalizing on the people who have to sit around and wait for hours because their flights are delayed or they missed a connection. They serve them alcohol. They have gambling machines at a lot of airports as well, for probably for that same reason. You get on the plane, you're sitting there, sir, bored for an hour. Just buy a shot of this liquor for, $34 or whatever the crazy inflated airport prices is. And that's another thing. Why is everything so much more expensive at an airport?
Because you have no choice.
Yeah, you're
There's no
stuck
other
in there.
options. You're
Yeah.
stuck there. It's not like you can go down the street and buy something cheaper.
Yeah, and because if you did, you may miss your plane. You're already through security. It doesn't make sense. And it could be even a chain. Like if there's I'll just say a McDonald's. If you're in the airport and there's a McDonald's, they probably aren't doing the promotions that the regular McDonald's on the street would do. And the McDonald's in your hometown, if the burger's $3 at the airport, that burger's like $5.70. Like everything is so much more. I think people need to. I think there should be protests.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Just kind of other problems.
If I was at the airport every day and that's how I lived, then I'd be like, man, this is way too expensive for me to be here every day.
Mm-hmm.
But, I go to the airport a couple times a year. It's not.
So you're all right. You're not too upset about this.
I don't think about it too much.
I don't know why it bugs me. Maybe because I'm really cheap, but I'll be at the airport and I just got to buy something. I don't drink, but I imagine alcohol is very expensive, but coffee's very expensive. And when you're hanging out at the airport doing nothing anyway, you might as well get a coffee and grab something to eat. Anyway, we're off on a deep tangent here, but this guy in Newfoundland shouldn't have tried to get on an airplane with over twice the legal limit, because that's just a bad spot. It's, if you're that drunk, you should be home in bed, not, thousands of feet in the air in a tube with a bunch of other people. Second thing is, when they didn't let him on the plane, they probably watched him walk out into the parking lot and get in his truck. Someone from the airport called the police. They probably arrested him at the driveway out of the airport.
They probably should have tried to stop him before he got into the vehicle.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But again, I'm not there. I don't see the circumstances, but just from where I'm sitting, hearing what I'm hearing, I'm putting a lot of the blame on the airport staff here.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a mystery how this all went down because you weren't there. We spoke about a mystery at the beginning of the show last week, at the beginning of episode 180. I don't know how we got on this. Oh, I know how. In the special drink segment last week, you had a grape pop, and we talked about how a grape, the fruit, in English is grape, but in French, it's raisin. But in English, a dehydrated grape is a raisin. And we said, well, what do French people call dehydrated grapes, which we English people would refer to as a raisin, because their regular grape is a raisin. Anyway, it's this whole complicated thing, but I can demystify that right now. A bilingual listener named Heidi sent us a voicemail explaining it. Here it comes.
I'm Heidi from New Brunswick, long-time listener, first-time caller. I was going to shed some light on one of the very early topics you guys mentioned in your last episode. Actually, in French, we, instead of just saying raisin as like a dried grape, we use raisin in French to refer to as grape, like you guys mentioned. So when we talk about a dried raisin, like a dried grape, a raisin, we'll just say raisin sec, and that just means like dried raisin. So yeah, that's all I wanted to shed light on. Love your show. Hope you guys have a great day.
So they would call, like we would have a grape and a raisin. They would have like a grape and a dried grape, which is kind of interesting. Like a lot of people eat raisins not realizing that they're just dehydrated grapes.
Yeah. Well, I think probably most people know what a raisin is, but a child maybe not. But
yeah. And I feel like a big consumer of raisins.
They are,
children. Yeah. Pop it in your lunchbox. They have no idea. They think it's a thing, that it's a raisin. No, it's a dehydrated grape. But if they were French, they'd know damn well what it was.
Yeah.
I just feel like there was some weird mix-up with the French-English translation of that word. Like grape to raisin.
I don't know. I feel Again, I just don't know enough about the language to really. I
Okay.
just don't know.
I feel like it's a mix. It's like people say we're living in a simulation or whatever. I think this is like a glitch in the simulation that led to those words and translations between French and English getting screwed up. But either way, I understand it at least a little bit better thanks to
Yeah,
Heidi. It's great to
yeah,
have access to so many correspondents with diverse backgrounds and unique skills like Heidi's mastery of French
that's
and
right. Yeah,
English.
I respect anybody who speaks more than one language. Heidi being one of them. So we'll tip our hats and clap our hands to Heidi's and her information.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the clock here. I think we've done about enough this week. I think we've done about enough tonight. So we're going to wrap it up. But I will say, we've been teasing a mailbag a little bit. We were going to do one and then stuff came up. It didn't happen. The mailbag is going to be delayed slightly because we're working on a special. Actually, we're working on two specials. There will be a new episode releasing probably within the next week to 2 weeks titled specifically Stairs, and it is going to be a full episode of Stairs stories. So let this be a call out. If anyone out there has any story related to stairs, we want to hear about it. Go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and share your stair story with us. Like everybody else who had their voices aired on the show tonight, simply having your stair story aired on the show or your voice aired on the show in any way qualifies you for a Keep Canada Weird / The Canadian Gothic swag pack. The other thing I want to call out for is Halloween stories. If you've seen a ghost, if you've seen a dragon, as Aaron likes to always say, if you saw a werewolf or Frankenstein, if you've been in a haunted house, go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and let us know about it. It can either be sent to us as a voicemail or we can work something out where we would get you on the phone and do it like interview style or something. But we'll figure it out. If you had a legitimate and sincere experience with the paranormal, we want to hear about it. And if you had a stair story, we want to hear that too.
Yeah, I like to say a Frankenstein because it's the most ignorant way to refer to Frankenstein.
A Frankenstein, yeah.
A Frankenstein, because it's suggesting that there are a bunch of Frankensteins. When, first off, Victor Frankenstein is the scientist that brought the creature to life. So the creature's name was never Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
But the Hollywood movies kind of turned it into Frankenstein being the monster.
So it's another like glitch in the Matrix.
Mm-hmm. But I love saying a Frankenstein as if there's just a bunch of Frankenstein monsters running around out there.
A similar thing happened with the Rambo movies. The first one, with Sylvester Stallone, the first one is called First Blood. So it's a movie about a guy named John Rambo who went to war and he came back and no one liked him. The movie's called First Blood. Then when they made part 2, it was called like Rambo First Blood 2. And then when they made the third one, they just called it Rambo 3. And they made a fourth one, Rambo. And they just dropped the whole First Blood thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now no one would refer to those movies as First Blood except my dad, who's like it's just like his favorite movie.
I love that first Rambo movie.
First Blood is amazing. It got a little crazier as it went on, like part 2 and 3, especially part 3 is crazy. But the first one's
yeah, because the Rocky movies got like that too. Like the first one is phenomenal. It's it's an amazing movie, and I like the sequels, but they do get super ridiculous as each comes along, and then some of them are better than others, obviously in quality, but the first one is outstanding.
But we shouldn't be talking about these movies this time of year. We're going into October, so I'm all about Halloween, spooky, scary stuff. My youngest son and I have been watching the 90s era TV show Goosebumps. We've been going through them episode by episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Although I probably should be watching and promoting the Canadian version or the Canadian style.
Are you afraid of the dark?
Yeah,
loved Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Midnight Society.
That was a great show. And some of those episodes, I remember being pretty creeped out by them when I was like probably too old to be even watching it. Like I would be, sitting there like 16, 17, like, there's nothing on. They're just like that.
Well, they would have marathons on Halloween night of Are You Afraid of the
Yeah.
Dark? And so I remember, getting home from trick or treating, just having a garbage bag filled with chocolate and candy and sitting down and binging Are You Afraid of the Dark? God, I want to go back so bad. I hate it here in 2025.
Me too, man.
Like, can you imagine? Like, that was all that mattered to me at that point in time. Like, when I was sitting down eating chocolate and watching and binge watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like, nothing else mattered outside of that moment.
Well, you
Like,
also
I
had
didn't have all this
nothing to
crazy
do.
stuff going on in the world that I was worried about and things that I was concerned about. And it was just like, I was like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah, you didn't
love life.
You probably didn't have even like a bank account, let alone financial worries. You didn't probably hardly knew who the prime minister or president was. With where now we got trade wars and everything else. You're right, it was a simpler time, and that's why I love Halloween. I feel like Halloween is the one night a year that you can kind of turn off a lot of stuff. There's no big expectations or connections with any controversial stuff. It's just a fun night.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
pumped.
fun night. It's fun just to sit down, watch some scary shows, and eat some junk for one night of the week.
Hell yes.
Because we try to avoid sugar, both you and I, as much as possible.
And Tylenol.
Oh, well, listen, this is not the show to get into that.
Let's put a bow on this. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop Backhoe Bonaparte. Until next time.
You're curious about your neighbor? Yeah. Dig a little tunnel and go see what they're up to.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to dig a tunnel to you and see what you're up to.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. This is Lisa from California. And I'm calling because first I wanted to ask to be banned because it does seem kind of cool and rebellious. And I do have a hint of that. I have one tattoo and I don't like the patriarchy. Being banned feels like it goes along those lines, but I'm also conflicted because I feel like it could be also seen as dictatorship or like a regime